Jody Avirgan here. I'm glad you're enjoying 30 for 30 podcast, part of a special collection of sports audio documentaries from ESPN Films. We're finding the best sports stories for you right now. And to do that, we're behind the wheel of the Mini Countryman, the biggest mini yet.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
To find great sports stories, you have to get out into the world and follow your instincts. That's where the Mini Countryman's all-wheel drive comes in handy. With all four, we can chase down a story in the city, the country, and most places in between. Podcast equipment isn't very bulky, but even if we're hauling a lot of gear, there's plenty of cargo space for all your stuff. And if a few of our producers tag along, no problem. The Mini Countryman comfortably seats 5 adults. The Countryman may be big, but it still drives like a Mini thanks to the twin-power turbo engine. No matter what story you're chasing, the Mini Countryman will help you find it. It's available now, and so are 30 for 30 podcasts. Visit miniusa.com/countryman today.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of Sirius XM, ESPN Radio, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. I don't even know where to begin. I really, really, really am at a loss. As if the New York Giants could be more pathetic. As if they could be more of an atrocity. I just don't know where to begin. I mean, I guess you can look at the headlines in the local papers. I mean, reading for the if you sit up there and you look at the local New York papers, and you see the story about Eli Manning, you know what it said? It might be the longest damn headline in the history of tabloid journalism. What did it say? 14 seasons, 210 starts, 2 Super Bowl titles. Now Giants callously bench Eli Manning. I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. I got Steph Curry and the reigning defending NBA champion Golden State Warriors showing up into the Staples Center so they could abuse Lonzo Ball, the rookie that wasn't, or isn't, or has yet to be, depending on how you look at it. I got a bunch of NFL players, and if you thought you had a problem with me before, with some of the things that I say, wait till you hear what I have to say about them. In light of the latest news involving these dudes wearing helmets and pads representing the National Football League. But before I even get into any of that, what do you expect me to say? What did you expect me to say? I know everybody and their grandmother thought that you know what this news about Eli Manning getting benched by the New York Giants. Okay, it's almost 24 hours later. Things will calm down. Well, you don't know me very well. You don't know me. I mean, the New York Giants have regressed over the last year to being one of the most pathetic organizations you can find. All and everything is wrong with this franchise. Wholesale changes are coming. Only person that left was Tom Coughlin, who, by the way, is doing a hell of a job as an executive in Jacksonville. You probably wish you had him here doing that right now. Actually, I take it back. Ain't a damn probable about it. You got Ben McAdoo with his chubby Pat Riley wannabe self with his slick back hair, alienating every damn body under the sun, every chance he gets. Scared to do anything with Odell Beckham Jr., but threw Eli Manning under the bus on numerous occasions. Got players talking about him behind his back after they quit on him. And still can't get anything right. I mean, this dude. This is the same guy, y'all. That's the offensive coordinator. They were a top 10 offense with him as the offensive coordinator a couple of years ago. Ever since he became head coach, they can't do a damn thing right offensively. ranked second to last in points allowed, ranked in the bottom 5 in yards allowed, ranked 23rd against the pass, 26th against the rush. I'm sorry, those are offensive numbers. I apologize. Defensively, they're the 3rd worst pass defense. Defensively, they're second to last against the rush, second to last in yards allowed. You have no offensive line. You have no running game. You have no receivers, but you're looking at Eli Manning. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Is there a quarterback who produces that has none of those components working in their favor? None of them. No receivers, no running backs, no offensive line. Who the hell produces at the quarterback spot without those weapons to lean on? But somehow, some way, Eli Manning's the problem. Who has been class personified, who has never, ever thrown his teammates or his coaches under the bus, regardless of how deserving they were of it, who was damn near reduced to tears yesterday, having to explain the fact that he was being demoted. And who was this in favor of? Geno Smith. I mean, I don't know whether to laugh, to cry, to demand that these dudes get drug tested, or for Ben McAdoo to be escorted out of town quick, fast, and in a hurry. This is a disgrace. Eli Manning? Really? Really? Now, for the record, is Eli Manning having the greatest season in the world? No. He's completing less than 63% of his passes. 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, relatively pedestrian. Has overthrown, has underthrown. Has not been the game changer that he once was. Does it look like he's lost a step? Yes. But how can we definitively say that so when he's devoid of the weapons necessary for a quarterback to produce? How can we do that? How is that possible? Inquiring minds would like to know. So we got that as an issue. Then we got Jerry Reese not getting him an offensive line or a running game for years. We have that as an issue. And I like Jerry Reese as a person, and I take no pleasure in saying this. But damn it, the facts are the facts. And this guy McAdoo, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I've never liked him. I've never liked him. I don't like his hairdo. I don't like the shades that he wears on the sideline. Damn it, you're blind without him. What the hell would you put him on for? I mean, one would argue you can barely see without him. With the decisions that you've made. With the diplomacy that you've been devoid of displaying. You've been a blind man leading these troops from the time you arrived as the head coach. No wonder why Tom Coughlin was sick to his stomach. He sat back and said, "This dude is my successor? Are y'all kidding me?" Mr. Mara, Mr. Tisch, what have you done to this organization? What have you allowed to happen to this organization? A better question, what the hell has happened to you? If for no other reason than class and decorum and loyalty, you would have waited until the end of the season to make such a move. And you never, in a gazillion years, would have made it so Geno Smith could play and you could find out what he is. Have you not heard? Did you not see when he was playing? This is not a Geno Smith that played for another NFL team, and it's that simple. This is a Geno Smith that has played in this town before, in this city before, at the same damn stadium. The same stadium. You think that if Geno Smith goes out this Sunday and stinks up the joint at MetLife Stadium or wherever the hell the Giants are playing, which I'm sorry to say is in Oakland. Actually, I'm happy to say that. At least they're on the road. You really, really think that would be the first time? This is inexplicable. This is not the New York Giants that we know. This is not the organization that has been a standard bearer. This is a joke. Geno Smith. Did y'all know that the New York Giants was the last NFL organization? Do you know that the New York Giants is the only organization that never had a black quarterback? Did y'all know that? And their first is putting in Geno Smith. Geno Smith in favor of Eli Manning. Geno Smith, who's 12-18 as a career starter. Geno Smith, who's only won 4 of his last 14 starts. Geno Smith, who has a career 57.7 passer completion rating. Geno Smith, first African-American quarterback in the history of the New York Giants franchise to play. Start. By the way, New York Giants, is that why you did this? I mean, Davis Webb out of Texas Tech and then Cal. I mean, hey, he may not have been getting enough reps in practice. That's why he ain't starting. You sure, New York Giants, that's not what this is about? You sure that it's not about the fact that you just wanted Geno? Hey, you can't bypass the African-American. You sure about that? This is a disgraceful decision. There's only one good thing that comes out of all of this. This almost assures that Ben McAdoo will not be the head coach of the New York Giants once this season is over. That would be cause for celebration. Hopefully it happens by Christmas. 866-729-3776. That's just one of the things I'm pretty damn ticked off about. I'll tell you what else in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
If I get back into this fiasco by the New York Giants, let me dial it down a touch to extend my heartfelt wishes to Annie Apple, the mom for Eli Apple, cornerback for the New York Giants. He's missed the previous 2 games against the Chiefs and the Raiders. He was home with his mom, who had brain surgery. She's recovering from what I'm told. I know a few people who know her. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. She did some work for ESPN, baked some cake, or what was it? I forgot what cupcake. I forgot what it was for Roger Goodell. After complaining about the food in the NFL draft room when her son was drafted out of Ohio State. And Eli Apple has obviously been incredibly distracted since hearing the news before missing the previous 2 games. And Coach McAdoo has deemed him, unavailable for this week's game as well. But, on behalf of everybody here with the Stephen A. Smith Show and ESPN Radio, we wish the lovely Annie Apple a full recovery. Wishing her nothing but the best, obviously, particularly during this holiday season as well. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. One of the other things that I wanted to get into before we go to the calls, and there's a lot of people that have got a lot to say about Eli Manning, and again, I will be getting into Lonzo Ball going up against Steph Curry and the Lakers. The reason why that's relevant is because, remember, LeVar Ball talked all that smack about how Steph Curry was not better than his son. Well, this is the first time Steph Curry gets an opportunity to face his son. I'm going to pray for Lonzo Ball. I'm going to pray for him a lot before tonight's game. However, getting back to the NFL, there's something that transpired that everybody needs to know about because it's important. The NFL, according to reports, essentially have are willing to pledge over $100 million to causes on behalf of the African American community. Obviously, this is emanating from the protest. There's no quid quo pro involved. Just reading some cliff notes from the documents I received. It says, according to the documents reviewed by ESPN, the NFL has proposed partnering with players to effect social justice improvement, offering nearly $100 million to fund causes considered critically important to African American communities. The NFL submitted the final draft of a proposal to players on Monday. There is no quid pro quo attached to the offer, meaning that the players don't necessarily have to stop kneeling for the national anthem. But obviously, we all know that's the hope on the part of the owners that they do just that. The hope is that the league's proposed commitment creates an environment where players will no longer want to protest. Players are expected to discuss the offer during a conference call today. If the players accept the proposal, the owners will need to finalize it via a vote at the league meetings in March. Some players who have actively protested since 2016 are displeased with the NFL's approach and plan to break with the Players Coalition, the main group of roughly 40 players that negotiated with the league office over how its leaders have handled negotiations. Here's what I'm hearing. There's players that are looking for credit. I'm going to say something that's very unpopular. I'm going to preface my comments by saying these comments are not ESPN. They're not Jonathan Winthrop, Nuno Teixeira, Cat Pastor, or anybody else associated with this show. Marsha Keegan, Justin Craig, who oversee radio for us, Norby Williamson. This is not about anybody else. This is Stephen A. Smith talking. Let me be very, very clear with what I'm about to say. These players need to shut the hell up. I'm going to say it again. If, and the caveat is if, these players, whoever they are complaining about being offered nearly $100 million to fund causes considered critically important to the African American community, you need to shut the hell up and take the money. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say something that nobody else has picked up on. The protest that was initially sparked by Colin Kaepernick, look at me when I'm talking, John. Cat Pastor, stand up and look at me when I'm saying this. All right, I want my team to look at me and say, because I ain't playing. And if we got folks in the black community that have a problem with it, I don't care. ESPN can't say that. I'm a black man. I don't give a damn. I mean what I say. How the hell could you have a problem with this? Correct me if I'm wrong. The protest was about racial injustice, inequality, and police brutality. I don't recall the NFL having anything to do with that. That's not about the National Football League. That's about society. The only reason why it boiled to this point was because a president who can't seem to police his tongue to save his damn life or his fingers on Twitter called y'all a bunch of SOBs. That wasn't Robert Kraft. That wasn't Stephen Ross. That wasn't Jeffrey Lurie. That wasn't Arthur Blank. That was not Roger Goodell. That wasn't any of them. You had one ignorant owner who got busted talking about we can't let the inmates run the prison, when we all know that it's the inmates running the asylum, which is the phraseology. But he still shouldn't have said it. But that's all you got. Jerry Jones said, you will stand for the national anthem or you're going to be on the bench. What y'all say then? Did you protest Jerry Jones? No. You had players that were a bit upset. They went into his office and spoke to the boss. But in the end, did they kneel? No, they didn't. This is not a protest against the NFL. This is a protest against our society. It was never a protest against the flag like the president hijacked it into trying to make it out to be. This was a protest against racial inequality, oppression, and police brutality. None of which has anything to do with the National Football League. And you still get $100 million out of them, and you have a complaint? What center can I send you to be drug tested immediately? Take the $100 million. Allow it to contribute to causes, to address the concerns of the African American community, and be cool with that. You can emulate Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick of the Detroit Lions and go with your respective local police department and go out on the streets and see what the real problems are. You can march on Capitol Hill and demand that you have an opportunity to address legislators, the NFL owners with their billionaire selves. They can facilitate that. You could demand that Colin Kaepernick be allowed to work for an NFL team. I'm not hearing any of that. I'm hearing that you got a problem with $100 million. I'm going to repeat it again. What center can I send you to be drug tested immediately? The Malcolm Jenkins, the Anquan Boldens, players associated with the Miami Dolphins, and any player around the league socially conscientious enough to address the issues the way they should be addressed? On behalf of the black community throughout this country, I love you, I applaud you, I stand with you. Those who are just complaining that they didn't get enough shine, and if the NFL should give more money, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Go to break.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
You know something? Anytime tax season is approaching, you need a tax preparation service, particularly one with approximately 4,000 locations located across the United States and Canada, and who partners with the NFL Alumni Association. I'm talking about Liberty Tax. And one of the people who's here on their behalf, former Dallas Cowboy. Yes, I do allow former Dallas Cowboys on my show because I don't have a problem with the Cowboys, only their fans, never their players, especially when this guy is a great football analyst as well. I'm talking about the one and only Daryl Moose Johnston. He's on the line with yours truly right now. What's going on, Moose? How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Stephen A. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Always good talking to you. I really, really appreciate you coming on the show. First of all, before I even get into anything else football related, talk to me about your association with Liberty Tax. I mean, I want to hear about this. What's going on with this?
Well, we're trying to get everybody to understand that tax season is just around the corner and don't want anybody to get caught blindsided by it. So we're trying to get the word out early. We're trying to get you to create a game plan. So you mentioned how easy it is. We've got 4,000 locations around the U.S. and Canada. They are a partner of the NFL Alumni Association, but we want to help you get a game plan put together because nobody wants the IRS coming back after you. So if you can go to libertytax.com, if you're a do-it-yourself type person, you're going to have access to tax tools there to prepare your own game plan. If not, you'll be able to find the Liberty Tax office nearest you. Go in, sit down with one of their certified professionals to help you put a plan together. But this becomes more and more complicated every year. We can see that by what's going on Capitol Hill right now in regard to taxes. So this is one of the things that I defer to the experts, and if you feel the same way, then Liberty Tax is where you need to go to get your game plan put together for tax season this year.
Moose, I don't know if you know this about me, but listen, I don't mind giving. I'm a giving person. I'm a giver, but I can't stand giving to the IRS. I can't stand it. It just bothers me a lot as far as I'm concerned. I don't like paying a lot of taxes, but unfortunately, we all have to in this day and age, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But I'm right there with you. I like to choose where my money goes to, and the IRS is one of the last places I wanted to go to.
That's all I needed to hear. Daryl Moose Johnston right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Listen, the biggest story going on right now in football is the benching of Eli Manning. As an NFL analyst, you've seen these things. You've watched these teams. What did you make of it when you first heard the news? Does this make any sense to you at all?
It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. I was absolutely shocked, and maybe more so than most people, because we had the New York Giants at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, that was post L.A. Rams. So that's when this whole conversation started, because a reporter kind of backed Ben McAdoo into a corner and said, well, is every position up for evaluation? And he said everything will be looked at after that performance, even the quarterback position. Yes, every position will be evaluated. So he kind of allowed this conversation to start. But even going into that Niners game, Ben McAdoo came out and said Eli Manning gives us the best chance to win a game. I don't know what has changed from pre-49ers to where we are right now, where he feels Geno Smith gives him the best opportunity to win a game, because the offensive line is still the same. It's still in shambles. They still don't have a running game. The wide receiver position is still decimated by injury. And Eli in that San Francisco game made some throws that Geno Smith can't make, that Davis Webb can't make, and all he's done throughout his career is go onto that field, healthy, unhealthy, whatever the situation is, with the sole mission of trying to get a win for the New York Giants. And I just felt when somebody does that for as long as Eli has done that he deserves more at this point in his career than what the Giants provided.
What do you make of folks who have looked at Eli this year, even in spite of everything that you just said, running game, offensive line, wide receivers, how they've been decimated or just inept at all of those positions? And they pretty much shove that aside and ignore it and say, no, Eli has lost a step. Clearly the organization needs to move in a different direction. This is why the move is being made. What do you make of that?
Well, it goes back to that old cliche, right? Quarterbacks get more credit than they deserve when you have a winning season, and they get more blame when you have a losing season. Statistically, this has not been a good season for Eli Manning, but it's a team sport. Football is the ultimate team sport. And we talk about quarterbacks that are trying to take that next step, and people will say, well, he doesn't have the supporting cast. Well, Eli Manning didn't have a supporting cast this year, so I never believe it to be one person's fault. I believe it to be, whether it's the offensive side of the ball that's struggling, there's a number of reasons why. If you look at that offense, if it's the defensive side that's struggling, there's going to be a number of reasons why. It's never one person, it's never one position, and so for the people that say that, hey, it's getting towards the end of Eli's career, okay, that's fine. That's fine, but play out this hand. You can't tell me that Geno Smith or Davis Webb gives the Giants the best opportunity to win a football game. I just won't believe that. And so for me, if we're really trying to play this out the right way to win as many games as we possibly can by the end of the season, then in my opinion, that choice would be Eli Manning.
Daryl Johnston, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get to your old team, the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I never expected them to fall off the wagon the way that they have since the departure of Ezekiel Elliott. It's not that I don't think he's phenomenal, because he is, but I also think Dak Prescott has been phenomenal by and large before Ezekiel Elliott's departure. And I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys right now. Yes, Smith was out for a couple of games on the offensive line. Dez Bryant hasn't looked the same. But could you put in the words what has transpired with the Dallas Cowboys? What have you seen that really alarms you about this franchise right now?
I was kind of exactly the same as you, Stephen A. When Ezekiel got suspended, I thought they were going to be able to weather the storm with Alfred Morris, Rod Smith, and at that time, Darren McFadden. They were going to miss the passion that Ezekiel plays the game with. The feed me signs after the long runs. I think he energizes the offensive line. I had no idea he was as important as he is. But if you go back and look at what Dallas does, they control the ball. The time of possession is big for them, running the football, keeping the opposition's offense off the field, not having their defense, which has their issues as well, on the sideline as much as possible. And, we look at quarterbacks like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, and, they're high-tide quarterbacks. Everybody else on that offense is lifted up because they play the game so well. They play the quarterback position so well. I think you have to look at Ezekiel Elliott as kind of a high-tide running back, especially for Dallas in the way that they're built right now. The passion that he plays the game with, he's the one player on the offense that had the ability to score from any point on the field. And with him out of the lineup, I don't know who that is anymore. I don't know if Dez has that anymore. I don't know if it's not the role of Cole Beasley. It's not the role of Terrence Williams. It's not what Jason Witten's going to do at this stage of his career. So they're asking the Cowboys to go on 8-play, 10-play, 12-play drives, and you're going to have a penalty or you're going to have a negative run. And when they get behind the chains, they haven't been able to overcome that adversity.
Before I let you get on out of here, who's the best team in football if I'm putting you on the spot right now, the Eagles or the Patriots? Or is there somebody else you had in mind?
I'm gonna go with somebody else off the board. I know they lost last weekend, but I like the Saints right now. There's been talent on that defense. They're playing well with Dennis Allen. I like the way they're doing things on the offensive side of the ball. So let's say they don't have success with what they're doing. It's not the defense and the running game that has been very, very important for them this year. They've got Drew Brees at quarterback, and they've got some good wide receivers on the outside. And now I know they lost to the Rams last week, but because of the experience at the quarterback spot in the NFC, maybe I go with the Saints over Carson Wentz in year 2, Jared Goff in year 2. And the Minnesota Vikings with Case Keenum.
So you think that Drew Brees and the Saints would go in the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia and beat them in a road game in January?
I watched them go up to Buffalo as a team that's not supposed to be able to play outside of the dome in the elements, go up and absolutely dismantle the Buffalo Bills. Now, that may have been a low point at Buffalo at that time, and they're not nearly as talented as the Philadelphia Eagles are, but I think that stigma of the Saints not being able to get outside of the Mercedes-Benz Dome and play in the elements up in the Northeast is something that you have to kind of look at it from a different perspective this year. The way they're playing, running the football with Ingram and Kamara, what those two guys are doing in the passing game, and then the way they're playing defense, Cam Jordan's having an unbelievable season. I think this Saints team is built completely different than the other Saints teams we've watched that have had good records.
Moose Johnston here on behalf of Liberty Tax, the leading tax preparation service with approximately 4,000 locations in the United States and Canada, and a partner of the NFL Alumni Association. Here on their behalf, thanks so much, buddy. Continue the great work that you've been doing as a football analyst. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen A. I appreciate it. Take care.
Take care, buddy. The one and only Daryl Moose Johnston, former Dallas Cowboys. Yes, I can be nice to Cowboys because it's not the players I have a problem with. It's their pathetic fan base that I can't stand. Make sure y'all recognize. By the way, visit libertytax.com to assess tax tools to prepare your game plan and to find a Liberty Tax office near you. Their certified professionals are committed to simplifying tax preparation, including understanding local tax issues, especially since they are rooted in the community. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Go to the phones right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio, 866-SAY-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Charlie in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What's up, Stephen A? Hey, big fan of the show.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I want to say, yesterday, Reese and McAdoo said we need evaluation. What the hell? There is no evaluation for this team because you know why? Mara should went up to them to allow these two fraudulent hacks to get an evaluation because Jerry Reese, you didn't give an offensive line. You didn't give a running game for Eli Manning. And what are you drafting? You're drafting
Stop right there. Stop right there. You weren't clear. Who are the fraudulent hacks you're talking about?
Head coach, that is McAdoo.
Okay, go ahead.
And
Jerry Reese.
Reese. Reese lets Eli Manning hanging out to dry. They didn't give him an offensive line. They didn't give him a running game. You got Whitworth out there who was balling with the Rams. A big contribution to the Rams' success and Jared Goff. And McAdoo. The Giants haven't scored 30 points under his tenure. Last time he scored was Tom Coughlin's last game as head coach of the Giants. And he's supposed to turn this offense around with Eli. Now he turned against them. And he's not letting his players. And has thrown him under the bus on several occasions. The players can't stand McAdoo. They don't like him. They don't like playing for him. That much has been well documented. If they don't clean house, it is a national tragedy.
They will clean house. They will clean house. They're going to be forced to clean house. There's no question about it. Because this heat that's coming their way, it will not dissipate. It will not dissipate. Not after this move. Thanks for the call, Charlie. I appreciate it. JP in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Stephen A., thanks for having me, bro.
Go ahead.
You, of all people, I'm very surprised. I'm caught completely off guard with what you're talking about. You know, as far as defending Eli Manning, the past 6 seasons, bruh, the past 6 seasons, what have this man done for anybody to have any problem with what is done?
Let me stop you right there. Because we're gonna find out where this discussion is going real quick, fast, and in a hurry. Number one, I didn't sit there and say I had a problem with it based on face value. What I said was, you make this move for Geno Smith. How you feel about that? You have no problem?
I don't have a problem with that.
Geno Smith?
Okay.
Geno Smith.
Steven, how many times have we watched Eli Manning when it doesn't matter win games? How many times are we going to watch him, instead of us playing for, a top draft pick, all of a sudden this guy start looking like Aaron Rodgers?
Okay.
How many times are we going to watch this?
I got a better question. You said how many times are we going to watch Eli Manning win games when they don't matter, right?
Yes.
How many times are we going to watch Geno Smith win games?
Well, look.
Or how many times have we watched Geno Smith win games?
We don't know.
He can no. He can't win. He hasn't won the games that didn't matter.
Exactly. But what I do know, Eli Manning, when it doesn't matter, when it hurts. I remember when we had Tom Coughlin. I don't believe
people are complaining about this move to this degree if this move was made for Webb. I think the reason people are going off is because the alternative is somebody we've already seen, and we believe knows ain't going to be but so much. That's the problem. If you're moving in a forward direction where you're saying the season's a wash, we're not going to win anything, we're not going to the playoffs, and we don't care if we win any more games right now. We want to evaluate our young talent and see where we are moving forward. And by the way, knowing we're going to lose and positioning ourselves for a high draft pick, I don't think anybody could dispute that. But when you decide to make this move and it ends up being for Geno Smith to be the starter, the same Geno Smith, by the way, that's about to start on the West Coast, and the last time we saw him as a starter on the West Coast in 2014 is when he didn't wake up in time for a team meeting. That same Geno Smith, I think when you do that, it's going to be problematic.
I'm happy, Steven, because you know what? At least I could sit here confidently say I might have a better chance losing the next 5 games with Geno than winning with Eli. We don't play for...
How about neither, JP? How about neither? How about going with Webb? How about it? If Geno wasn't a part of the equation, you'd be absolutely right.
This is not the Cowboys. We're not delusional.
I'm not sure about that. I got to run, JP. I appreciate the call, but I ain't going to lie to you. You sound a little bit delusional. By the way, former New York Giants about to come on the show with us. It's an extra treat for y'all because y'all hear him in the mornings in New York City leading into my show. I'm talking about the one and only Chris Canty, former New York Giant in the house. Up next with yours truly, Stephen A. to start off hour number 2. Holla!
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Jody Avirgan here. I'm glad you're enjoying 30 for 30 podcast, part of a special collection of sports audio documentaries from ESPN Films. We're finding the best sports stories for you right now. And to do that, we're behind the wheel of the Mini Countryman, the biggest mini yet.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
To find great sports stories, you have to get out into the world and follow your instincts. That's where the Mini Countryman's all-wheel drive comes in handy. With all 4, we can chase down a story in the city, the country, and most places in between. Podcast equipment isn't very bulky, but even if we're hauling a lot of gear, there's plenty of cargo space for all your stuff. And if a few of our producers tag along, no problem. The Mini Countryman comfortably seats 5 adults. The Countryman may be big, but it still drives like a Mini thanks to the twin-power turbo engine. No matter what story you're chasing, the Mini Countryman will help you find it. It's available now, and so are 30 for 30 podcasts. Visit miniusa.com/countryman today.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Here with you for the next hour over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80. We'll get back to the calls in just a few minutes on Eli Manning, on to my comments about the NFL, and willingness to donate about $100 million to worthy causes affecting the African-American community in a positive way. All of that and more we'll get into a little bit later on. But for now, we'll go back to a special guest on the show. He co-hosts a morning show, 98.7 FM right here on ESPN Radio. He also former defensive end for the New York Giants, Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. My buddy, the one and only Chris Canty's on the line with us right now. What's going on, big time? How are you, man?
I'm good, Steve. Thanks for having me on your show.
Your thoughts when you initially heard the news that Eli Manning was being benched?
I was disappointed, Steve. I didn't think that the New York Giants, in particular ownership, John Mara and Steve Tisch, would handle Eli Manning this way at the end of his career. And to bench him in favor of Geno Smith and or Davis Webb just doesn't make sense to me. Not at this point. Eli clearly wants to remain the starter for this team because he feels like he gives the other 52 guys in that locker room the best chance to win ball games. He still wants to go out there and compete. And I think that the organization owes it to him to afford him the opportunity to finish out this season as the starter for the New York Giants. If they want to do something different in the offseason, they want to go another direction, they can do that then. But right now, to make this decision just doesn't feel right.
Would you feel any differently if they sat up there and they said, look, Davis Webb, here's we want to go in this direction with Davis Webb because he's out of college, he's our third string backup quarterback. We want to see what he has. We're not going to win any games this year. Really, we're trying to get a high draft pick. We're also in a situation where we're not going to the playoffs. Would you have had any problem had they taken that position as opposed to inserting Geno Smith as the starter?
No, I still would have had an issue with this, Steve, and here's why. I don't know what you're realistically expecting to see from Davis Webb. He hasn't been getting starters reps. He hasn't even been getting backups reps. He's been running the scout team for the opposing team's offense against the Giants' first-string defense. So I don't know how much he's progressed, how much he's developed over the course of the season. I don't know what we're going to see from Davis Webb, and I think that's why the Giants are making the decision to go with Geno Smith and start him this Sunday in Oakland. I don't know what to expect from Davis Webb, and to say that you're going to be a part of an offense that's averaging 15 points a game, that's going to be without some key pieces, I don't know if this kid is going to be in a position to really be successful. So I don't understand what fans are expecting to see from Davis Webb. So I don't think it's you need to have a sense of urgency to put Davis Webb in as your starting quarterback. I just don't see that.
Knowing Eli Manning, your former teammate who helped you capture a Super Bowl championship, knowing him the way that you do, seeing his facial expression, hearing the tone in his voice yesterday upon learning that he would not be starting, it's one thing for us to talk about what we saw. What did you see?
Well, I saw somebody that was hurt. An organization which he has tried to represent with class, with dignity, uphold the standard of excellence on and off the field. I felt like he sees it as the organization betraying him and his sacrifices, everything that he's done for this team and the effort that he put in to try to uphold that said standard, what it means to be a Giant. And so I think he was disappointed. You saw him in his locker. He was near tears. Because in Eli Manning's mind, he probably was thinking that he was going to finish his career as a New York Giant. He was going to remain the starting quarterback for as long as he wanted that opportunity. That's why he had the no-trade clause put into his contract extension a couple of years ago. But the fact that the organization decided to bench him at this point in the season, it feels like they're trying to blame him for what's going on in this team's 2-9 start. I'm not going to sit here and completely try to absolve Eli Manning of any responsibility with this season, but this is not Eli Manning's fault. The Giants just fell apart. And to me, the criticism should lie with Ben McAdoo and with Jerry Reese.
When you say it should lie with them, be specific as to why you feel that way. We say stuff like running game, offensive line, decimated the wide receiver spot, even though that's primarily due to injury. What exactly and specifically are you talking about when you point the finger in their direction?
Well, I mean, you got to surround Eli Manning with the right supporting cast. So the offensive tackle tandem of Eric Flowers and Bobby Hart, it wasn't good enough in 2016. They allowed the second most hits, hurries, and sacks of any tackle tandem in the National Football League last year. And so why would you double down on that offensive line, those offensive tackles, when clearly it wasn't good enough for Eli Manning to be at his best? Your offense didn't score a lot of points last year, only averaged 19 points a game. This year it's 15 points a game, so it got worse. I don't understand why you didn't address it in free agency this year when you could have went out and signed Andrew Whitworth for the money that you put in Brandon Marshall and Rhett Ellison, when you could have went out and pursued a Riley Reif that he signed in Minnesota. Looking at the impact that those two signings had with those respective teams, you can't tell me it doesn't make a difference in signing a left tackle and what that does in terms of fixing your offensive line. So the fact that you don't have a mobile quarterback, you would think that if this is your quarterback, you would try to put an offensive line in front of him that could pass protect or that could run block and give the offense some balance. But they didn't do that. So that blame has to lie with Jerry Reese.
Yeah, so that's where I was going, because that's a personnel issue. What about the coaching issue? Specifically, how can you highlight the inefficiency or ineffectiveness of Ben McAdoo?
Well, here's the thing. Openly criticizing Eli Manning, even before this season started, when the offseason started, saying that Eli Manning needed to perform better in a muddy pocket, saying that Eli Manning needed to be better in that goal-to-go situation against the Detroit Lions where you had the delay of game. Talking about Eli Manning and criticizing him publicly when you don't want to hold anybody else accountable, I have an issue with that. When the owner, John Mara, has to come out and say that he's embarrassed for Odell Beckham Jr.'s antics in that celebration that he had in the Philadelphia Eagles loss early in the season,
yes,
not having your head coach respond and discipline that player in some way, shape, form, or fashion is unacceptable. But you're going to come out and you're going to criticize the consummate professional in Eli Manning? That doesn't feel right to me. Like, you're not going to attack the other guys? How about Eli Apple on the 3rd and 33 screen pass to Robert Woods that went for a touchdown? Did you see him on that play, Stephen A?
Yes, I did.
He didn't even run to the ball. He gave a half-hearted attempt to tackle Robert Woods. He didn't even run to the ball. That's unacceptable, but your head coach is choosing to hold Eli Manning accountable, and it doesn't feel like he's willing to hold anybody else accountable. And in my book, that's unacceptable, because Eli Manning is the guy that's trying to uphold the standard of what it means to be a Giant.
I think anybody with sense knows that Jerry Reese and Ben McAdoo, they're done. It's over in New York. It'll be over by the end of this season. I think Boo Boo the Fool could see that. But my question to you is this. Did you see an Eli Manning that would be willing to and desiring to stay a New York Giant even in the event that they departed? Or did you see a guy yesterday that basically said, this is it for me, I'm out of here?
To me, I saw a guy that said, this is it. And here's why I say that. When the reporters pressed him on the question, they asked him about his future, he didn't dismiss that fact. He just didn't want to address the question. And when I'm looking at this decision to bench Eli Manning, it goes beyond Ben McAdoo and Jerry Reese. This is something that ownership had to sign off on in order for this to happen. And so to me, I think that puts the relationship between Eli and ownership in a space where it's potentially irreparable. So if I'm looking at this, Eli Manning wanted to remain with the Giants. For them to treat him like this, I think he feels betrayed in a sense, and he's probably going to want to move on and go elsewhere.
It's interesting that you say that, because he did say, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, he did say the coach spoke to him, right, Chris Canty? He said the coach informed him of this news, right?
Yeah, the coach informed him of it, and the coach offered him the option to continue to start. And at some point in that game, probably at halftime, they were going to bench Eli Manning and bring in Geno Smith or Davis Webb. And Eli said that didn't make sense, because if you're preparing and you're going to be in the game, you want the ability to be able to win the game, and to be able to pull him out just didn't make sense.
Exactly, and I totally agree with him that part I knew. Where I was going was this. How is it that the coach spoke to him? This is a guy that started 210 consecutive games, ain't missed a start in over a decade, has been the face of the New York Giants franchise for years. These are supposed to be one of the few standard bearers in all of sports in terms of how they conduct business. How is it that Mr. Tisch, Mr. Mara, Mr. Reese, none of them addressed Eli Manning? They left it to Ben McAdoo, who's lucky to be employed by this organization. How'd that happen?
I don't know, Steve, and you bring up a good point. I don't know how ownership allows Ben McAdoo to be the face of this decision. This needs to be an ownership decision, and you would expect to be able to hear from one of the owners, if not both of them, if they talked about the situation with Ben McAdoo and his job security, or Jerry Reese and their job security, and they released a joint statement saying that they would reserve any commentary or any decision until the end of the season. Why couldn't they come out and release a statement saying why they decided to move from Eli Manning being the starting quarterback in favor of Geno Smith or Davis Webb? That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't sit right with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening not just to the former defensive end, Super Bowl champion defensive end for the New York Giants, but you're listening to an outstanding radio host for 98.7 FM in New York City, the one and only Chris Canty. You will be hearing a lot from him in the near future, one of the best NFL analysts and radio hosts in the business right now. Congratulations on your success, my brother. I appreciate it all, and thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate it, Steve. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. The one and only Chris Canty right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to your calls in more in a minute, plus Lonzo Ball and the Lakers going up against the reigning, defending NBA champions. How much mercy should the Golden State Warriors have on Lonzo Ball tonight? And how much mercy do you think they will have? All that and more coming up next as you're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Phones we go right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get right to it at 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Oh, let me stop. I apologize. I don't want to get right to it. Instead, I want to bring up something else before I forget. And that is the fact that I'm going to say a prayer tonight for Lonzo Ball. The reigning, defending NBA champions are coming to town with one of the top 3 players in the world in Kevin Durant, and unquestionably the greatest shooter that I have ever seen in NBA history in Steph Curry. There is a man by the name of LeVar Ball, who is the father of Lonzo Ball of the Los Angeles Lakers, who made a national name for himself in large part by proclaiming his son was better than Steph Curry while this kid was in college at UCLA. He said this last year. He talked about how his son would beat Steph Curry one-on-one. He talked about how the Warriors would be better if Lonzo was their point guard instead of Steph. He said a lot of different things. Steph Curry has never played against Lonzo Ball. Tonight will mark the first time. Now, I don't know if we have sound on that new Kevin Durant speaking, Steph Curry speaking, and Steph Curry like, look at me when I was my first 20 games in the NBA, and Kevin Durant saying, you know what, he's a young kid, only 19, and, he's feeling himself in the NBA, and, most of us at that age played that way. Well, what I would say to you is history and statistics show otherwise. In the first 20 games of Lonzo Ball's career, he's the worst shooter in the last 30 years. 30% from the field, 23% from three-point range. It's been awful. Historically, over the last 30 years, there has been no one this bad in their first 20 games. Now, I personally am rooting for Lonzo. I wish him nothing but the best. I have no doubt that Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and all of those dudes will wrap their arms around this kid and whisper words of encouragement. I've seen it all. And their class personified, and I have no doubt that they will come to the aid of him pre-game, post-game. What about during the game? What do you think's going to happen? It would not surprise me at all if the Golden State Warriors blew the Lakers out while in the same breath taking it light on Lonzo. Like if Steph Curry is eating them up and the Warriors are eating them up, I could see Steph Curry giving up the ball to Durant. I could see others victimizing the rest of the Lakers as opposed to them zeroing him in on him the way that Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen zeroed in on Tony Kukoc during the Olympics in '92. I could see that because that's how they are. Now, had this been months ago, I think Curry would have ate him alive. But because of the vitriol this kid has taken, because of the fact that his personality, his demeanor, his character is so good. He's such a good kid. And clearly has been victimized by his father's mouth. I actually think the Golden State Warriors are going to take it light on him. They'll abuse the Lakers. Even though I must admit, I've been impressed with some of the things I've seen from the Lakers. Brandon Ingram is improving. And Kuzma, I love him. But they might take it light on Lonzo Ball because he's such a nice guy. Don't be surprised by that. Don't be surprised by that at all. Before I go to the phones, here's both Steph Curry first, then Kevin Durant, speaking about the Lakers rookie and number 2 overall pick made by Magic Johnston this past June. Listen up.
Man, he's a rookie. He's going through the ups and downs like every rookie has, whether you're highly touted or not. It's all a learning experience and trying to find your way and be comfortable. So, yeah, it's basically my perception is he's working through that. And I've always said I know he's a great talent. I think he loves to play basketball, so he'll be able to fight through all that and have a great career. But I hope you didn't judge me off my first 20 games in the league either.
They're a young team. They're getting better every day. They're getting better every game. They're learning how to win. And, Lonzo is just playing like a rookie as far as learning the game, finding the ins and outs of the game and slowing down for him and picking and choosing his spots. And he's still figuring it out. And that's what, is he 19? That's what any 19-year-old will go through in the pros. So just a matter of him being in L.A., so much eyes and scrutiny on him. But he's playing like he should play as far as, learning the game and adjusting on the floor.
That's a lie. He's not playing the game like he should. Lonzo Ball is incredibly passive. He is perfectly content with passing the ball and running around without it and not being aggressive offensively. I'm not talking about his game because I have faith in the kid. But it's gotten to a point where it's not about us believing in him. He needs to believe in him more, and he needs to be more aggressive and more assertive. It's not what any 19-year-old does, feeling his way and trying to figure it out. They try to seize opportunities. Sometimes they fail miserably, and we get that. But they strive to seize the opportunity. That doesn't appear to be what he's doing. And that's the problem. That's the part of the problem. Mike in California, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Man, pleasure talking to you again.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just got to talk about the NBA rookies because the high level of talent that these young kids have is just can't go unnoticed. But, anyway, my question, Ben Simmons, I think Ben Simmons is a clear front runner for Rookie of the Year.
Well, stop right there. Nobody disputes that. Here's the issue with Ben Simmons. The question with Ben Simmons is not that whether or not he deserves Rookie of the Year because of his talent and what he's doing on the court. People question whether he deserves it or not because even though he didn't play last year, their mentality is he got drafted a class earlier. And as a result, even though he never stepped on the floor, he received an NBA paycheck and he was exposed to practices with the team and all of this other stuff. And as a result, he shouldn't be judged as a rookie while others could. I don't agree with that. As far as I'm concerned, he never played an NBA game last year. This is the year he played an NBA game for the first time. I think he's a rookie. But go ahead.
Well, wasn't that the argument with Joel Embiid? Wasn't he a finalist last year for Rookie of the Year?
Yeah. That was an argument that people used. My argument was that he didn't play enough games.
Right. Anyway, I just wanted to ask you who you think your next 3 finalists are, like after him, like the next 3.
Haven't really paid attention to it. I can't give you an educated answer about that. I like what I have seen from Dennis Smith Jr. I really like this kid, Donovan Mitchell, out of Utah. Haven't seen much of Malik Monk in Chicago, but when I saw him, I liked him. I liked Markkanen in Chicago as well. I meant Malik Monk in Charlotte, but I like Markkanen in Chicago as well. But I got to keep my eyes on more of that. It's hard for me to say. I would say Jason Tatum, though. That would come to my mind.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. Let's go to Van in Queens. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's up, Stephen A., man? Thank you for the call. I just want to get on Eli Manning real quick. I wanted to defend him if it's possible. You had a caller talk about what Eli did in 6 years. My question is, what has Jerry Reese done in 6 years? Because 6 years ago, we had probably the best offensive line in the game. Prior to that, we had 2,000-yard rushes to help Eli Manning. So what do we have? What does he have now? You know what I mean?
Well, I know what you mean. The problem is you're whistling into the wind. People don't bring up Jerry Reese anymore because we assume he's gone because of how putrid the offensive line and the running game has been.
Exactly, and that's the thing. This is a guy This is the reason I defend Eli, is because there's one thing you can say about him that's undeniable, uncategorical. If this guy has the parts, he can take you over the mountain. Not to the mountaintop, over the mountain. He's done it twice. He's made me a believer. You understand what I'm saying? And if I may, on Lonzo Ball, I'm going to just say like this. If I can make a suggestion to the young man, when this season's off, when it's over in the off season, he really needs to work out with James Harden and learn how to draw fouls. That, I believe, will help him.
You can say that all you want. You can say that all you want to, man. The brother got to shoot better. He got to shoot better. He got to shoot better. I don't give a damn what anybody says. That's the real problem, Van. He's got to shoot better. But I appreciate the call. 866-729-3776, 866-SAY-ESPN. Back with your calls in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
I'd be remiss in neglecting to bring up this issue right here. It was announced today by the president of ESPN that approximately 150 employees would be let go. The statement reads, today we are informing approximately 150 people at ESPN that their jobs are being eliminated. It circulated in the news and throughout social media. It's the only reason I'm commenting on it. Says here from John Skipper, we appreciate their contributions. We'll assist them as much as possible in a difficult moment with severance, a 2017 bonus, the continuation of health benefits, and outplacement services. They will also appreciate your support. Make no mistake, they have it. All of us who work with people, befriend people, don't befriend everybody we work with, but we befriend folks. And anybody with a soul doesn't wish for something like this to happen to anybody. Business decisions are made every day. This is above our pay grade. We don't know the intricacies that surround decisions like this being made, although we may think we do from time to time. But speaking on behalf of folks for the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, all my producers and everybody else involved, speaking on behalf of the folks that work with me on First Take as well, my heartfelt condolences to those who are losing their jobs at this time of year especially. And just know that we'll be here for you in any way that we can. We love a lot of people here. ESPN is not perfect. There's a whole, there are things that, like any other job, employees don't always agree with, that we have very, very little say about. But there's a hell of a lot worse places to work. That I can tell you. Even on a day like today, I can say that. As unfortunate as that may be, and I'm very, very sorry for those who are losing their jobs. It's hard walking through the hallways today. Let me just say that. It's very, very hard for myself and my producers, who care very, very much about the people at this company, to walk through the hallways today. Anything else, quite frankly, is just inappropriate to say. It's not our place. It's just the way it is. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go back to the calls. Wendell in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, greetings, Stephen A. Man, I have to applaud you on your, acknowledgement of Eli Apple's mom, because, there was a couple of weeks ago, there were some broadcasters that were so overzealous in attacking this man's character before they even knew why he was scratched from that game.
Right.
So thank you for that, my brother.
No problem.
And as far as Lonzo Ball, you know what? Let's just say it's going to be a teachable moment. Mm-hmm. And, also in this hype with Lonzo Ball, one person that's being overlooked is Kuzma. That rookie is doing pretty well for the Lakers. He's pretty decent.
First of all, he's their best shooter. Secondly, he's their best rookie.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean the best shooter, but he's their best rookie. And he plays with the level of aggression you want to see from a first-round pick.
Right, and Lonzo, I think the 2 words all season, also besides shooting, training room. You know, you have to get your body physically. You're playing against fully developed men now.
I just wish, Wendell, that I could look at him and say, all right, you need to bulk up. All right, you need to work on your shot. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem is with me saying I got to work on you being aggressive. That really bothers me. That rubs me the wrong way. It just does.
But, Stephen A., I want to talk about your Giants. You know, organizational malpractice is one word that comes to mind with the Giants. Not only, you know, and with Geno, good luck, you know, with that putrid offensive line, and your head coach is just straight offensive. Your general manager has dropped the ball. And may I say, I want to talk about the team in Western New York, too, because 2 weeks ago they basically, for all intents and purposes, forfeited the game by sitting Tyrod Taylor down. You had a 5-4 record. You're in the playoff hunt. You're going to sit your best chance to win down. That didn't make any sense either. And as Herm would say, you play the game to win the game. You know, thanks for the time, brother.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Take it easy, man. Igor in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A?
Right,
big time listener, big fan, man. Thank you for taking the call.
Thank you.
All right, so I want to make a comment about the Giants, right? So everybody's talking about how Eli's been played and all that. I'm a big time Giants fan. I've watched them for years. And I think personally they did him dirty, letting him go the way they did. But bigger than that is I think they let him go using McAdoo. That's why the GM and none of the O'Haras came out and said anything publicly. I think because McAdoo already has such a negative image with the fan base that using him to let go of our best franchise player, benching our best franchise player, that's the way to get everybody off the back of Jerry Reese and the owners. And also, it's a way to keep him healthy because of the offensive line that we have. And to put Geno Smith instead of the other backup, I forget his name. But anyways, to put him in is I think it's just a way to get the pressure off of Webb. You know what I mean? It's a way because Webb is not prepared to be a starter yet, so they're trying to just transition it into into Smith.
Well, let me ask you this question: why not leave Eli in the lineup until you get Davis Webb the necessary reps and then put him in? Why not do that?
I don't see the reason with 5 games remaining, you know, to put him in at the end of the season. There's no point, but it's going to happen eventually where they're going to have to bench him to give Webb some snaps.
All right.
So that's what I see. I think they used McAdoo because of his image with the media and everyone.
Yep.
They used him to announce to make the big move.
I'm with you. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much, Igor. 866-729-ESPN, 866-ESPN. Closing out the show with your calls in a minute. It's Stephen A. It's Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. By the way, you know I got to get my sleep, right? You know how important my sleep.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
A few minutes left right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get right to it. 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Sobek. You're live in Jersey, from Jersey on Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Steve. How you doing, Stephen
All right,
A?
go ahead.
I appreciate your style on air. I just want to say real quick about the Eli benching. Okay, you may not like the way it happened, but the season was already done. So why would you risk him getting hurt? And for him to get up there and show like, oh, he's really offended, that's fine. That's the sports and the athletic
the offensive feelings come from Geno Smith being the guy that's plugged in instead of him.
Right. But then again, it doesn't matter. The season's over. Geno's not going to do that.
Well, it matters to him and to a 2-time Super Bowl champion. If you're going to replace him, you replace him for a youth movement that you're clearly aiming towards, or you make sure that it's not for somebody who has proven to be disastrous. Now, some people would argue in favor of Geno Smith. Like I saw Josina Anderson, NFL reporter extraordinaire for ESPN, doing on NFL Live this afternoon. That's fair enough, but she's a believer in giving Geno Smith a second chance. I'm one of those people, and I'm one of many who believes we've seen enough. He's a backup.
Got you. But even a backup, we can get some trade value for him. But I do wish the Giants well. I mean, I'm from Harlem. Did you
just say you believe they can get trade value for Geno Smith? Does those words come out of your mouth?
You never know. Yeah, they came out my mouth. They came out my mouth.
This is the NFL. What do you mean you never know? Do you realize you see starters in this league getting traded for nothing more than a second round pick?
True. You're right. You right.
Okay.
I mean, hey, listen. If we can get a half decent offensive lineman for him, I take that as a W.
Got it.
But that's all I want to say. But Lonzo Ball, he got to take his lumps. He's a rookie. If he don't get out of that passiveness, he's going to be washed up. I think
they're going to be light on him tonight. That's just my personal opinion, but I appreciate the call. Thanks a lot. Daryl in Cali, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Daryl.
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A? Thanks for taking the call.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I got a couple of comments I want to say.
Hurry up.
Lonzo Ball, he's a rookie. Everything's going to be okay. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Go ahead, just make it
I forgot his name, but anyway, the Giants. It's not for long. It's a league not for long. I mean, I don't have no hard feelings about them cutting or not cutting, but what's his name? Eli Manning. I mean, I don't have no problem with him benching him. The season's already done, like the previous caller said before. And, that's pretty much it. I mean, he's done. I think he's done.
And then you're individuals that are not paying attention to the ineptitude of the New York Giants. You can say what you want, but they're trying to make him the fall guy, and that's the problem. They're trying to make him the fall guy when everything around him has been pathetic. Why don't McAdoo bench himself and let the offensive coordinator, somebody else, take over the head coaching duties? He ain't going to do that, is he? How come Jerry Reese won't give up his job and let somebody else step in? He ain't going to give up that, is he? So why should the player be so apt to do that? You don't surround it with an offensive line, no running game, suspect receivers. Odell Beckham Jr. was your only player worth having this year. And look at where you are, even though I like Ingram as well at the tight end spot. We'll see. Appreciate the call. Eric, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A., listen, I want to know why you're making excuses for Eli Manning. So Eli has missed the playoffs the last 5 out of 6 years. So tell me what other quarterback would have that much. Tell me what other quarterback deserves the opportunity.
I can tell you several. You know who they are? Any quarterback without an offensive line and without a running game, and then who didn't have a defense until last year, where they spent $200 million to get one. That's who.
Okay, but hear me out. Is it a possibility that the Giants are starting Geno so they can guarantee a top 3 draft pick for next year?
Well, they're saying they're starting Geno right now to give Webb time to get ready, and then they'll insert him. I'm saying you should have went straight from Eli to Webb, and I would have had no problem with it.
Is it a possibility that they're trying to just sabotage the rest of the season so they could guarantee a top 3 pick and possibly get a franchise quarterback with?
Well, if you want to sabotage the season, why not put Webb in now?
Good point.
Goodbye. Let's go to T. Joe. You're live with Stephen A. What's up? Talk to me. Mike, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Mike?
Hey, man, real quick. Eli, I think they just handled it wrong. And then, like you said tonight, the Lakers are probably going to get blowed out. Golden State coming off a loss. And we'll just see how they do Lonzo. Hope he don't be out there too passive.
Well, here's the question. Do you think they're going to have mercy on him, or do you think they're going to go at him hardcore? You think they're going to go at Lonzo hardcore or have some mercy?
They're going to go at him, Stephen A.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past them to have mercy on them. I'm saying they're going to prioritize winning the game first. But I'm talking about them rubbing it in and really going after him. I don't think they're going to do that to the kid. I really don't.
Right. They got a little too much class for that. They probably just going to, beat the team bad, but give him some mercy because he's going through too much right now.
I will say this, Mike. I hope his daddy don't show up to the game. I really don't. Because if he does, I think they're going to make it worse on him.
Well, let's hope he stay at home there, man. For Lonzo State.
All right, boss, I got to go. I appreciate it, man. Anand, you're live with Stephen A. You only got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
What I was saying is this could be a great tank job, what they're doing, to put Geno Smith in there, who's a terrible quarterback. Could lead to a plethora of picks.
Well, what I said, I don't know if it's going to be a plethora of picks, but more importantly, what I was asking is, if that's the mentality, why not just put Webb in?
Because he's better than Geno Smith.
Oh, I got it. That's
so
a good argument.
Let Geno Smith go in there and really muck it up.
I mean, listen. I mean, you know, who knows? I can't definitively rule that out. You might have a point. What can I say about it? Who knows? This is all just so sad. It really, really is. for something like this to happen to Eli. Class personified, has been thrown under the bus constantly. And I used to interview Jerry Reese and stuff like that. I mean, he's changed a little bit because obviously he's under immense pressure and everybody can't handle that, particularly when things are nosediving. I wish him nothing but the best, but I think that this move has sealed his fate and that of Ben McAdoo. I really, really do. 22 hours from now, I'll talk to y'all. Until then, peace and love. Stephen A. signing off.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.